In the heart of Malaysia, there lay a city like no other, Kuala Lumpur. The city was a blend of tradition and modernity, where the old and new coexisted in a harmonious dance. The city was a vibrant blend of modernity and tradition, where sleek glass buildings coexisted with centuries-old temples. The streets bustled with life as locals and tourists intermingled, while the aroma of sizzling street food wafted through the air. And there was an extraordinary event was taking place. The opulent ballroom of the Grand Kuala Lumpur Hotel bore witness to the grand wedding of Amir Osman, a charismatic and up-and-coming politician, and Mia Wan, a renowned architect. The ballroom draped in cascading silks of deep maroon and gold. Crystal chandeliers dangled from the ceiling, casting a cascade of diamonds over the elegantly dressed guests. The air was filled with the enchanting melody of live orchestral music, and the intoxicating scent of fragrant flowers that adorned every table. Guests sipped on champagne, and the clinking of crystal flutes echoed through the room. Among the guests, there was Ibrahim Rahman, a man known by two distinct identities. To most, he was a successful and respected businessman in Kuala Lumpur. But those who tread in the shadows knew him as a ruthless figure in the city's underworld. Dressed in a tailored black sult, he carried an aura of power and authority. With a sharp jawline, impeccably styled hair held in place with gel, and piercing brown eyes, he cut a striking figure that demanded attention. Ibrahim was not alone. Seated at a table nearby were his younger brother, Samir, and their close friend, Faisal. The trio sipped champagne. Faisal, the more talkative of the group, leaned in and grinned, "You know, Amir here is about to get hitched. I wonder if he'll even remember us once he's a married man." Samir chuckled, raising his glass in agreement. "I wouldn't be surprised. Love can do strange things to a man. He might be too busy with his new life to even pick up our calls." Ibrahim, the quietest of the three, simply observed. Faisal nudged Ibrahim playfully. "Ibrahim, my friend, what do you think? Will Amir become one of those husbands who forget their buddies?" Ibrahim's gaze shifted from Faisal to the happy couple on the dance floor. With a faint smile, he replied, "Marriage changes people. We'll see." Faisal leaned closer to Ibrahim, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Do you even believe in the idea of settling down with someone?" Ibrahim's stoic expression remained unchanged as he considered Faisal's question. "Marriage has its merits, for some. But it's not for everyone. I prefer to focus on business." "Well, I wouldn't mind finding a good woman someday. Someone who can tolerate my brother's silent brooding, perhaps." Samir chimed in. Ibrahim's brow raised ever so slightly, acknowledging his brother's jest with a faint nod. He valued his family deeply but rarely shared his thoughts or emotions. The bride and groom concluded their dance. The hail erupted with applause and cheers. Amir and Mia, with radiant smiles, acknowledged the well wishes and claps. However, amidst the celebration, Ibrahim's intense gaze fell upon a young girl entering through the main gate of the hall. His champagne glass, halfway to his lips, froze in midair. It was as if the world around him had slowed to a crawl, and he couldn't draw his eyes away from her. She was a vision of innocence and grace. Ibrahim was not the type to be easily captivated by women. He had seen countless faces in his line of work, but this moment was different. He couldn't explain it. There was a magnetic pull that drew him toward her. She donned a stunning bottle green gown. But it was her long, flowing hair that left Ibrahim breathless. It shimmered like spun silk, each strand seemingly kissed by the lights of the hall. In a slow, hushed voice, Ibrahim leaned toward Faisal, his gaze never leaving the girl. "Who is she?" Faisal's eyes darted around, attempting to pinpoint the girl in question. However, it was Ibrahim's subsequent clarification that made everything clear. The girl in the green dress, approaching Mia. Now, both Faisal and Samir turned their attention toward the approaching figure. The girl's arrival seemed to bring joy to Mia, who greeted her with a tight, warm embrace. Mia's eyes lit up with happiness as she embraced the girl warmly. They exchanged words and laughter, and the mysterious girl handed Mia a beautifully wrapped gift. Faisal ventured a guess, maybe she's Mia's friend, or a distant relative. It seems like they know each other quite well. Samit, on the other hand, couldn't help but be astonished. He had never seen his brother show interest in a woman before. He leaned in, asking Ibrahim, "What's got you so curious about her?" Ibrahim was not one to be easily swayed, but this girl had managed to capture his attention in a way that left him searching for an explanation. He finally responded to Samir's question, "I don't know." Ibrahim watched as the girl took a seat at a nearby table. She appeared to be in the company of a group of other girls. Samir leaned in and whispered to Ibrahim, "Those girls over there are Mia's university friends. They've known each other for years." Ibrahim simply nodded. He turned his gaze to Faisal and issued a command, "Do a thorough background check on her. I want every detail, no matter how insignificant it may seem." Faisal hesitated. "Ibrahim, the girl seems so young." Ibrahim's lips curled into a slight smile. He fixed his gaze on Faisal and calmly inquired, "So?" Faisal sipped his champagne, choosing his words carefully. "I've never seen you like this before, Ibrahim." Ibrahim took a deep breath, his gaze returning to the girl in green. He admitted in a rare moment of vulnerability, "Don't know why, Faisal, but there's something about her that I find interesting. I like her." Faisal and Samir exchanged surprised glances, their eyebrows raised in disbelief. It wasn't every day that the stoic and unyielding Mafia boss expressed an attraction so openly. Samir leaned in. "Ibrahim, it seems like you've found your kryptonite, my brother." Faisal chimed in with a grin. Who would have thought that beneath that tough exterior, there's a heart that can be swayed by a young woman in a green dress? Ibrahim replied in a measured tone, "I'm not sure, but I want to know more about her." Faisal added, "We'll look into it, Ibrahim. But what do you intend to do once we have the information?" Ibrahim's expression hardened, his usual steely resolve returning. "We'll see then." Ava Lim returned home after the joyous celebrations of Mia's wedding, her heart warmed by the sisterly bond she shared with her senior from university. Mia had been like a guiding light during Ava's academic journey, and the connection they had formed was more than just friendship. As she entered their cozy apartment, Ava noticed that her brother's room was locked. Alara, her older brother, was a dedicated police officer, often working late into the night. Ava's parents had tragically lost their lives in a car accident when she was just 10 years old, leaving her and Alara to face the world alone. Alara had stepped into the role of both a guardian and a parent, ensuring Ava had everything she needed. Sighing softly, Ava retreated to her own room. Her room was decorated in soothing blue and white hues. Stuffed teddy bears, many of them gifts from her protective older brother, adorned her room, lending it a comforting and cozy ambiance.
Photographs of cherished memories with her parents were lovingly displayed on the wall, a reminder of the love and support she had received once. She decided to change into comfortable pajamas, shedding the elegant bottle green dress she had worn to the wedding. After a quick visit to the bathroom to freshen up, Ava changed into her comfortable night attire. It was well into the late hours of the night, and the apartment building was quiet. Ava had a habit of reading a novel before drifting off to sleep. She approached her bookshelf, filled with a collection of novels and selected one that caught her fancy. With the room now bathed in the warm glow of her desk lamp, Ava climbed into her neatly made bed ready to get lost in the world of words. Just as she was getting engrossed in the novel, a sudden, unexpected sound broke the silence of her apartment. The doorbell rang. Her heart skipped a beat in the quiet of the night. Who could be at her door at this hour? She set her novel aside, a sense of unease settling in as she made her way to the front door. She peered through the peephole before unlocking it. To her surprise, there stood a delivery boy holding a beautiful bouquet of white roses. She opened the door and accepted the bouquet. She asked the delivery boy, "Who sent these flowers?" The young delivery boy shook his head with a friendly smile. "I'm sorry, miss. I don't know. I was given the bouquet for delivery, but there's no sender information." Ava's curiosity deepened as she thanked the delivery boy and watched him leave. She returned to her room and sat back on her bed, still holding the bouquet of white roses. As she examined the delicate petals and inhaled their sweet fragrance, she noticed a small, folded note hidden among the blooms. Ava carefully unfolded the note, her eyes scanning the words written in elegant script. "Dear Ava, may these white roses symbolize the purity of your heart. I hope you had a wonderful time at the wedding. Until our paths cross, cherish the beauty in each moment. Yours, a stranger." Ava was taken aback by the message. Who could have sent such a poetic and mysterious note to her? It was clear that this person knew she had attended the wedding, which meant they might have been present there as well. The next day in Kuala Lumpur was a rainy one, and the city was transformed by the soothing embrace of the rain. Thick, grey clouds stretched across the sky, and the sound of raindrops tapping against windows filled the air. The streets glistened with putties, and the scent of rain-kissed earth wafted through the city. In their cozy apartment, Alara was already in the kitchen, preparing breakfast for himself and his younger sister, Ava. The morning routine was a familiar one for the siblings. He would soon have to leave for the police station, and Ava had her classes at the university to attend. Alara and Ava had a significant age gap, with 12 years between them, but their bond was a special one. Alara had taken on the role of both brother and guardian after their parents' tragic accident. He had raised Ava with love and care, treating her as if she were his own daughter. As he cooked, the fragrant aroma of traditional Malay breakfast dishes filled the apartment. Alara was preparing nasi lemak, a classic Malaysian dish consisting of fragrant rice cooked in coconut milk, accompanied by sambal spicy chili paste, anchovies, boiled eggs, and fresh cucumber slices. The rich and savory flavors blended together in a mouth-watering symphony of tastes. Alara completed the morning cooking. After removing the apron, he stepped into the dining area and set the steaming dishes on the table. As he arranged the plates and noticed the clock on the wall. 9 a.m. already. Time flies, Alara mused to himself. The next item on his morning checklist was to awaken Ava from her sleep. Alara went towards her room, lightly knocking on the door. A quiet moment passed, and then he opened the door. Alara approached her bedside and whispered tenderly, "Ava, it's time to wake up, little sister. You'll be late for your classes." Ava stirred with a gentle sigh, her sleep not yet ready to release its hold. Alara tried once more, "Ava, come on, sleepyhead. Rise and shine." Ava's response was a drowsy murmur, "Just a few more minutes, Alara couldn't resist a soft chuckle. He moved to the nearby washroom and filled a glass with water, then returned to his sister's bedside. With a playful flick of his fingers, he sprinkled a few droplets of cool water onto Ava's face. The sudden sensation startled Ava awake with a gasp. Alara couldn't resist a teasing tone as he said, "Ava, you really can't sleep through everything, can you?" Ava, still wiping the water from her face, responded with a groggy laugh, "You and your wake-up calls, Alara." I'm up." She finally stirred to life, her sleep-drenched eyes adjusting to the sunlight, and propped herself up in bed. "You and your splash of cold water always effective though." Ava sobbed. "It's the tried-and-true method for the sleepiest of sleepers, Ava," Alara replied with a smile. Ava swung her legs out of bed and onto the floor. "What time is it, anyway?" Alara glanced at his watch and responded, "It's nearly 9:30. You've got a bit of a rush." Ava's eyebrows shot up in alarm. She scrambled to her feet and hastily made her way to the bathroom to freshen up. Alara's chuckle echoed through the apartment as he teased, "Don't worry, Ava. You'll make it in time." Then he went to his room. The Rahman Enterprise Tower, Ibrahim Rahman's empire, stood tall and imposing, a symbol of power and influence in the heart of Kuala Lumpur. The tower's windows bore the marks of recent ram, with droplets glistening in the morning, signifying that the rain had come to an end. Faisal entered Ibrahim's organized office, holding a file in his handrest. Ibrahim, who had been intently scanning his computer screen, turned his attention toward his friend. With a welcoming nod, Ibrahim acknowledged Faisal's presence. "Welcome, my friend." He then reached for the intercom and spoke to his assistant, instructing them to bring 2 cups of coffee. Fawal placed the file on Ibrahim's polished desk. As he took a seat, he began to speak, "All the details are here." Ibrahim's sharp gaze moved from the file to Farua's juice. A small smile lugged at the corner of his lips. Ibrahim mused, he firages idly tapping the file. "The one thing I've always liked about you, Faisal, is that you get the job done on time." Faisal just simply nodded for the prats. Ibrahim opened the file, revealing a treasure trove of information about Ava. Her age, her family background, and her educational qualifications, her interests, her dislikes, all the details had been meticulously compiled. Faisal watched closely as Ibrahim's gaze traveled the pages, noting the subtle shifts in his expression. "Ava is very young, Ibrahim," he began. "She's only 23 years old. Whatever you're considering, please remember her age." Ibrahim leaned back in his chair, the file remaining open before him. Met Faisal's concern with a calm yet resolute gaze. "I know, but I want her," he replied. Their conversation was briefly interrupted as a staff member entered the office, bearing a tray with 2 cups of coffee. He placed the cups on the desk then left the office. Ibrahim's gaze shifted to the windows, where the black clouds still yawned in the sky. He spoke saltly, "If I were to propose a date to her, do you think she'd accept?" Faisal let out a deep sigh and leaned back in his chair. He considered the question carefully before answering, "Who knows, dear? But you should remember, her brother is a police officer." With a smirk playing on his lips, Farahim continued to stare outside. He questioned Faisal, "Have you scared of anyone? If I were the type to be easily intimidated, I wouldn't be in the position I am today." Faisal picked up his cup of coffee, gently blowing over the surface to cool it down before taking a sip. Know that, Ibrahim, but you've always had a complicated relationship with the police. If Ella's were to find out that you and Ava were dating, things could get much worse, he replied. Noor Ibrahim tuned his attention back to Faisal. I want to know everything about her Riali schedule. From the morning to where she goes, what she does throughout the day, every riotals. The 2-hour lecture came to a close as the professor packed her belongings and left the classroom. Students began to sweat from their seats, some stretched their arms and yawned, some sighing in relief as they finally got to their feet. A few students began to make their way to the exit. Amidst the bustle of student, Ava sat at her desk, jotting down some notes from the lecture. Beside her, there was Farah, Ava's best friend. Farah leaned over, peering at Ava's notes with a sly smile. Ava's, still taking these notes? Huh? Don't you ever get bored of all this studying? Ava chuckled, glancing up at her friend. Well, someone has to keep us on track. Farah, you'd sleep through the entire lecture if I didn't remind you. Farah shrugged nonchalantly. Hey, sleeping is a skill, too. Besides, I've got all the notes I need in Dreamland. Ava playfully rolled her eyes, closing her notebook. You and your dreams, Farah, they must be quite the academic research. Farah playfully nudged Ava's shoulder. You know, Ava, you should try it sometime, the art of sleep during a lecture. It's truly an underrated skill. Ava chuckled, her affection for her food-loving, nap-taking friend evident. I'd love to, Farah, but I'd probably wake up with drool on my notes and missed half the lecture. Farah raised an eyebrow with a smirk. Who said anything about drooling? I'm a pro at discreet napping. Avenue raised her own eyebrow in amusement. Oh, really? So, what's your secret, sleep master? Farah leaned in closer, her voice hushed in mock secrecy. It's all about the perfect balance between head nodding and actual sleeping, lust enough to give the illusion of attentiveness, but not so much that the professor notices. Ava burst into laughter. Farron, you're something else, you know that. But seriously, one of these days, you're going to get caught. Farah waved off the consom with a nonchalant shrug. If it happens, it happens. For now, let's go grab some food. I'm craving a post-lecture snack. Ava couldn't help but chuckle. You've got your priorities straight, Farah. Sue, where do you want to grab that post-lecture snack? With that, the friends rose from their seats and headed out of the university together. Farah's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as she suggested, Tim, thinking we should try that new burger place that just opened nearby. I've heard them burgers are absolutely massive. Ava considered the proposal, her stomach giving a subtle growl of agreement. Burgers do sound tempting right now. Let's go check it out. The two friends made their way to the burger restaurant, where Farah took charge of ordering. As they sat down with their trays of delicious burgers and Ines, they delved into a conversation about Miles' wedding from the previous night. Ava couldn't help but reminisce. Mia looked stunning, didn't she? It was like a fairy tale. Farah nodded, her mouth full as she mumbled her agreement. Absolutely, it was a night to remember. Ava's eyes sparkled with excitement. Oh, Farah, you have to send me the pictures you took last night. Farah's face brightened with a grin. Of course, I got some great shots. I'll send them to you here soon as we're done. As Ava and Farah savored their burgers, a waiter approached their table, holding a beautiful bouquet of white roses. The moment they saw the flowers, their conversation trailed off, and Ava's eyes widened in surprise. "It's for you, miss," the waiter said, extending the flowers toward Het. Ava was momentarily taken aback. "White roses, once again," Ava mumbled. The déjà vu was impossible to ignore. She looked up at the waiter and inquired, "Who sent these flowers?" The waiter shook his head with a cold smile, apologetically unable to provide answers. "I'm sorry, Miss Agentiaman came in and seemingly instructed us to deliver this bouquet to you." He didn't share any further information. The waiter gently set the bouquet in front of Ava. With a polite nod, the waiter left. Farah couldn't hide her surprise. "Walt, Ava, you received this exact bouquet last night?" Ava nodded in response. "Yes, Farah, I received the same bouquet last night." Farah leaned in, her concern evident. "Did you tell Alara about this?" Ava hesitated before answering, "No, I haven't told him you're." Farah's eyes widened in surprise. "Why didn't you tell Alara about it?" Ava hesitated, her thoughts racing. I'm not sure. I didn't want to worry him unnecessarily. Besides, it's just flowers." "Right." Farah sighed, leaning back in her chair. "Ava, there's something wrong here. Receiving the same bouquet twice is more than just a coincidence. You need to be careful." Farah's brows furrowed with worry as she pressed on. "Did you receive any letters of anything else with the bouquet last night?" Ava's memory was jogged, and she nodded. "Yes, there. A note in between the flowers." Faggot to get to the bottom of this mystery, Farah quickly took the bouquet from the chair. Her search revealed another note, similar to the one Ava had received the night before. She opened it and revealed the contents to Ava, a phone number scrawled on the paper. Farah held up the note with the phone number, displaying it for Ava to see. "Look, there's a phone number here." Ava considered the note for a moment before asking, "Should I call the number?" Farah studied the note and then looked back at Ava, her brow furrowing in thought. "Whoever this person is, they're clearly inviting you to call them. But think about it, why would they send you a phone number in a bouquet? If they wanted to talk, they could have just called you directly." Ava suggested, "Maybe they don't have my number." Farah couldn't help but shake her head in disbelief. She whispered, "Ava, you're far too innocent. Sometimes nowadays, it's not difficult to find someone's phone number. We're in countless group chats, social media platforms, and more. Plus, if they've sent flowers to your apartment, that means they know your address. And if they know your address, they most likely have your number, too." Ava's eyes widened in realization. She had never thought about it that way. Her voice quivered as she mumbled, What should I do now?" Ava's breathing got faster. Momentarily forgetting about her burger, Farah handed Ava a glass of water. She advised, "Drink some water first, Av's. Calm your nerves." Ava obediently took the glass. After finishing the glass, she took a deep, calming breath. An hour had passed since the unexpected bouquet of white roses had arrived, and Ava and Farah now found themselves in Farah's room. Farah lived in a shared apartment with some of her classmates, each having their own room. Farah reached for her laptop and powered it up. She looked at Ava and said, "Hey, give me the note, Ava retrieved the note from her jeans pocket and handed it to Farah. Ava also took seat beside Farah. "Do you think you can find out whose phone number this is?" Ava asked. Farah's confident grin reassured her. "Don't doubt it, buddy. It's a one-minute job." Farah had a knack for hacking and computer skills that had calmed her reputation among her friends. Farah began to work hard digital magic. First, she ran the phone number through various online databases and directories, hoping to find a public match to the seemingly enigmatic digits. Then, she scoured social media networks, searching for any profiles or mentions associated with the number. However, her excitement turned to disappointment. Frustration crept into Farah's expression as she realized the dead-end nature of the task. She shook her head and, with a sigh, turned to Ava, admitting, "I'm sorry, Ava. The number seems to be well protected, and I can't access the owner's information. It's a private number." She closed her laptop and let her head rest on the bed, clearly disheartened by her mobility. Ava's face mirrored Farah's disappointment. Ava attempted to comfort her friend. "Leave it. The more we dig into this, the more we might stress ourselves out." She stood up on the floor and reached for a packet of chips that was on the table, opening it with a crinkle of plastic. Taking a seat beside Farah, Ava extended the packet. Farah accepted a handful of chips, her mood improving as she munched on the salty snack. "What was written on the previous note, Ava?" Farah asked. Ava munched on the chips, her tone nonchalant as she replied, "Not much, really. The note just said that the sender had seen me at Mia's wedding last night. Nothing else. So, they've seen you at Mia's wedding, but why all the secrecy? It's just so." Bizane. Farah crunched on a chip and said. Ava leaned her back on the bed. "I wish I knew, Farah. It's been bothering me since last night. We can't just let someone toy with you like this. It's not right," Farah replied. "Thanks, Farah. I'm lucky to have you by my side. Let's just hope we don't get any more of those white roses." Ava appreciated. Farah couldn't help but smile. "Hey, if those roses keep coming, at least we'll have a beautiful garden by the end of it." Ava playfully nudged Farah with her elbow. "Even we could start own flower shop with all these roses. We'll call it Mystery Roses and become famous." Farah chuckled as she added, "And you'll become the unofficial Rose Queen of Kuala Lumpur, Ava." Ava rolled her eyes in mock exasperation, but a smile played at the corners of her lips. Great. Just what I've always dreamed of, a garden of mystery roses." Ibrahim's heavy footsteps echoed through the dimly lit apartment, catch step and harbinger of the storm brewing within him. He pushed the door open without ceremony, and there he stood, a looming presence, his sharp jaw tense and his brown eyes moittering with anger. Haroon, his business partner, was seated at a shuttered desk, his focus locked onto a laptop screen displaying an array of digital charts and figures. His shock at Ibrahim's unannounced entrance was evident as he looked up, caught off guard by the sudden intrusion. For a moment, the room was draped in silence. They had just faced a substantial loss in their arms trafficking business, and the tension between them was suffocating. They were same age and they have done arms trafficking for years. Ibrahim wasted no time, getting straight to the point. "Haroon, do you have any ideas what you've done? We were on the brink of sealing a massive armor deal, and you messed it up. Do you have any explanation for this?" Harun looked flustered and uneasy. He stammered, "Ibrahim, I swear, it wasn't my fault. There were unforeseen complications, and I couldn't control the situation." Ibrahim's anger intensified, and he clenched his fists. "Complications? Harun, we can't afford complications in this business. We're talking about millions of dollars, and you leopardized everything." "Explain what happened." Harun began recounting the unfortunate turn of events. "We were supposed to meet the buyers at the designated location, but as soon as we arrived, the authorities were already there. It's like they knew we were coming. They seized the entire shipment, and we had to flee to avoid arrest." Ibrahim's fury was a smoldering fire. "We're under the scrutiny of the law now, and our entire arms trafficking network could be exposed. Our rivals will seize this opportunity, and our buyers may no longer trust us. Do you have any idea of these, Harun?" Harun wiped his sweat-drenched brow, his voice shaking as he spoke. "Ibrahim, I understand I made a colossal mistake. I couldn't have foreseen the level of scrutiny we'd face, but we can recover, right? We can find another way. Rebuild." Ibrahim's stern expression darkened with every passing moment. "We can't afford mistakes like this, Harun. The After were playing our lives, our business, everything is hanging by a thread. Do you think our competitors will show us mercy? Do you believe our buyers will have faith in us after this FROCO?" Harun hung his head, admitting his failure. "Ibrahim, I'll do whatever it takes to make amends. I'll find a way to fix to regain control." Ibrahim's voice was unrelenting and unforgiving as he responded, "You've put us in a perilous position, Harun. If we don't act decisively, if we don't regain control and identify who tipped off the authorities, we might as well surrender to them ourselves. This is no time for hesitation or half measures. We need to discover who's behind this." Harun attempted to calm the storm that was Ibrahim. "Through whom?" Hanan began. "We can attempt to recover the arms from the authorities. I have some contacts who might be able to help, but also need your help. I can't do this alone." However, Ibrahim was in no mood for reassurances. He stepped close, his eyes locking onto Harun's. "This isn't the time for your usual talk. If those arms aren't recovered within 2 days, you won't see the sun on the 3rd day. Don't forget to find out who betrayed us, who tipped off the authorities. I want every names, and I want them at my feet." Harun's eyes widened in terror at the ominous threat. "Ibrahim, I promise you, I'll move heaven and earth to get those arms back. I won't let our business crumble. You have my word." With that, Ibrahim turned on his heel and left Harun's apartment. Harun, left behind, took a deep, shuddering breath. He muttered to himself, "This man will give me a heart attack one day." Ibrahim couldn't shake the gnawing frustration that had settled within him after the monumental loss they had just suffered. This wasn't the first time they had faced such setbacks in their illegal arms trade. In their world, every deal carried the potential for disaster. His expensive suit now disheveled. With a swift, sharp motion, he yanked at his tie and pulled it loose, the silk fabric coiling around his hand before he tossed it carelessly into the passenger seat. His car door slammed shut as he settled into the driver's seat, and the engine roared to life. His strong, capable fingers clenched the steering wheel of his luxurious car, knuckles white with tension. He drove with one hand, his fingers wrapped around the leather-wrapped wheel, his grip tight as if he could control the situation with sheer force. He had spent an entire day covertly observing Ava, and in doing so, he had neglected his business, a decision that had cost him dearly. Ibrahim reached into his pocket and retrieved his phone, a private number known to very few. Ibrahim had sent the bouquets of white roses to Ava, expecting that she would call to seek answers about the mysterious sender. However, the phone remained silent, and Ava's call never came. His call history displayed no missed calls or messages. The absence of her call bothered him more than he cared to admit. Ibrahim couldn't help but wonder why she hadn't reached out. He slid the phone back into his pocket. He made a U-turn and the car's tires screeching against the asphalt. Sending flowers seemed like an innocent way to start, but it hadn't yielded the desired results. Within a few minutes, he reached in front of Ava's apartment. Ibrahim pushed open the car door, his long legs unfolding from the vehicle. Stepping out onto the pavement, he adjusted his suit. He looked up towards Ava's apartment. He couldn't help but wonder what she was doing at that very moment. The dimly lit streets of Ava's calm neighborhood provided the perfect cover for Ibrahim as he retrieved a sleek, high-tech drone from the back of his car. The drone's camera, concealed within its sleek frame, was his watchful eye. He had used this drone on countless occasions, whether for reconnaissance, surveillance, or to monitor potential threats. Now, it served a different purpose, but the principles were the same: gather information, observe without being seen. He extended the drone's legs, revealing the advanced camera mounted on its underbelly. He powered up the drone, the low hum of its engines filling the air as it came to life. As the drone soared into the inky night sky, its camera captured a bird's-eye view of the neighborhood below. Ibrahim guided through the remote in his hands. He was now seated inside his car, the drone's live feed visible on a screen in front of him. The drone slowly ascended, reaching Ava's floor. It approached her window, the camera capturing every detail of her room. Inside, Ava was going about her routine, unaware of the mechanical observer just beyond the glass. Ava was in the midst of changing her clothes. Her long hair, previously cascading freely, was now secured in a bun with a simple clip. There was no apartment beside Ava's, so she didn't see the need to close her window as she changed. Instead, she simply dimmed the room's soft light. A rare smile curved his lips, a momentary respite from the chaos and loss that had engulfed him. Her fingers nimbly undid the buttons of her top, revealing the creamy expanse of her skin beneath. The fabric slid off her shoulders and pooling at her feet. Ibrahim's dark eyes narrowed, his breath momentarily caught as he watched her. And the allure of this forbidden view was undeniable. Next, she unbuttoned her jeans and allowed them to slide down her legs. Her jeans pulled at her feet, leaving her standing in her undergarments. As she stepped out of the jeans, the contour of her slender legs was illuminated by the soft light. The way she moved, the way her skin caught the soft light of her room, held Ibrahim captive. He was drawn into her private world, a voyeur of her most intimate moments. His breath caught as Ava reached behind her back and unhooked her bra. She let it slip from her shoulders, revealing the curvature of her back and the gentle slope of her breasts. Ibrahim's eyes, glued to the drone's footage, were implacable. His sharp jaw tightened. However, his focus shifted when he noticed a mark on Ava's waist. His brow furrowed in curiosity. What was this intriguing detail he had stumbled upon? He couldn't resist the urge to zoom in on the footage, scrutinizing it closely. It was a beauty mark. A smile tugged at the corners of his lips, an expression that betrayed a sense of possessiveness. Ava retrieved her night suit from her bed and slipped the garment over her shoulders, and the soft fabric clung to her figure. The drone's camera didn't miss a beat, recording every subtle movement. For a moment, Ibrahim felt a connection with her, even though it was purely one-sided and clandestine. He watched her like a silent observer, his gaze never leaving the drone's live footage. It was as if, for that brief moment, the outside world ceased to exist, and all that mattered was Ava. The game had begun, and Ibrahim was determined to play it to its end, no matter the cost. Consequences. On the other hand, Ava, wrapped up in her own world. She remained unaware of the covert observer outside her window. After changing into her comfortable night suit, Ava gathered her worn clothes and made her way to the small bathroom of her apartment. She tossed her clothes into the washing machine. As the washing machine began its cycle, Ava moved to the cozy kitchen of her apartment. Alara's message had already informed her that he would be late once again today. It meant she was responsible for preparing dinner. Tonight, Ava yearned for something light and quick. A sandwich was the perfect solution. She gathered the ingredients from the fridge and the cupboard: slices of fresh bread, a few lettuce leaves, thinly sliced tomatoes, and tender pieces of chicken filled the countertop. Delicate layers of lettuce, tomatoes, and thinly sliced turkey nestled between slices of whole grain bread. With a glass of the creamy blueberry shake in one hand and a plate of freshly prepared sandwiches in the other, Ava returned to her room. She switched on the lights and carefully placed the plate and the glass on the side table. As she settled down, ready to enjoy her dinner, her phone rang. Who's calling now? She said to herself. With a sigh, she rose from the bed, her eyes shifting to the phone resting on her dressing table. The screen displayed an unknown number, but the digits were not unfamiliar to her. It was the same number that had been written on the note came with the bouquet of white roses she had received earlier today. She had glanced at it so many times that the sequence of numbers was engraved into her memory. Her phone continued to ring. Should I answer the phone? She asked herself. But she can't lose like that with someone who's disturbing her. With a deep breath, she took the phone from the dressing table and answered the call. "Hello," she said with a low tone. "Comment please." "Hello," Ava said with a low tone. On the other end of the line, there was a brief silence, almost as if the caller were judging her. Ava's heart raced as the deep voice on the other end of the line ephemerally spoke. "Aval," the voice paused momentarily before continuing, "I was waiting for your call." Ava's fingers togged with the edge of her wrecked shirt as she asked the question that had been haunting her from the previous day. "Are you the one who's been sending those bouquets? Why did you give me those flowers?" The many took a deep breath. "Mayim, and Ava could hear the sound of his rehail over the phone. She took small measured steps and sat on her bed, awaiting his response. "Sent those bouquets to get your attention," he admitted. Ava's brows furrowed as she asked, "My attention? Why?" The man's voice held a hint of amusement as he replied, "I saw you at Mia's wedding, and I couldn't help but become interested." Ava leaned back against her pillows, still confused. "But how did I make you interested in me?" A tant, almost amused chuckle uttered through the line. "Perhaps I should be asking that question, not the other way around." Ava shook her head. I really haven't done anything to garner anyone's attention. The man playfully prodded. Are you getting any VU, Ava? Ava quickly retorted, no, I'm not nervous. But I'm puzzled. I didn't even meet you at the wedding. The man explained, you might not have seen me, but I courteously noticed you enough. Ava gripped the phone tightly, her curiosity growing by the second. She hesitated briefly before asking, are you a friend of Mia's? The man clarified, don't really know Mia well. I'm more of a Mia's friend. Ava nodded in understanding. I see. So, what's your name? The man paused for a moment before revealing. You want to know my name? It's Ibrahim Rahman. Avenue processed the name, repeating it in her mind. Hermond was recalling as she heard the name Ibrahim Rahman. Before, she placed the call on speaker mode and pulled up her phone's browser to search for Ibrahim Rahman. Ibrahim on the other end of the line sensed her actions. Are you searching my name on the internet? He asked. Aya was momentarily taken aback. How could he possibly know what she was doing? How do you? She started, but he interrupted her. Okay, go ahead and do your search, Ibrahim encouraged her. Ava directed her attention to the search results displayed on her phone screen. The search revealed that Ibrahim Rahman was indeed a well-known and wealthy businessman in Kuala Lumpur. Her eyes widened as she read about Ibrahim Rahman, a renowned and wealthy businessman in Kuala Lumpur. The search results painted a picture of a man deeply involved in various legitimate enterprises, from real estate to technology companies. However, the Internet silent about his shadowy underworld activities. Ava's curiosity drove her to click on image results, and a series of photographs of Ibrahim appeared on her screen. He was captured in various settings, from funnel events to candid momenta. He had a sharp jawline, FSH, immaculately styled with gel, and brown eyes that seemed to penetrate through the camera lens, and his attire was always perfectly tailored. Then, as if out of nowhere, a voice startled her. Have you completed your search, baby G? It was the same voice, but this time it didn't come from her phone. Her eyes widened as she looked up in alarm. There, near the glass door leading to her balcony, stood Ibrahim Rahman. Startled, Ava, who had been lying on the head, quickly sat up on her head, her eyes widening in disbelief. Her surprise was palpable, and her voice trembled, and she questioned him, How did you get into my room? Ibrahim casually placed his hands in his soul pockets. His voice was smooth as he responded, through the Sultani. Ava's mouth fell open in sheer disbelief. She stammered, but how can you come through the balcony? Ibrahim's smile remained. He had clearly enjoyed the element of surprise he had brought into Burr. Fee's tone was casual. As he explained, it wasn't too challenging to enter into a second-floor balcony, and your door was unlocked, Ava. All in talk was a simple tum of the bandle. Ava's away shifted uneasily to the glass door as she realized the mistake she'd made, leaving her balcony door locked. She felt a log in her throat as she looked back at Ibrahim, her voice quivering as she protested, You can't just enter someone's house like that. Ibrahim spoke her name, Ava. He paused briefly before adding, I can do many things. His gaze remained fixed on her as he took slow steps into the room. Ava automatically exited hack. She implored. Don't come. Ibrahim, however, didn't hold her plea to stay away. He calmly moved closer, taking a seat on the edge of the bed. Ava's eyes widened with fear, and she moved back even further. She clutched a pillow as a shield defensively, ready to protect herself if necessary. Though they were separated by the width of the bed, the tension was palpable. Ibrahim couldn't suppress a low chuckle at her defensive posture, which made her clutching a pillow all the more surreal. He leaned closer and said, "I'm here because of you, Avenue." Ibrahim took a deep breath and revealed his true intentions. "Want you, Ava? I really like you." Ava's eyes widened in disbelief. She stammered, "WH? What do you mean?" her mouth hanging open as she struggled to process the shocking revelation. Her surprise was abruptly interrupted by the doorbell's chime, causing her to jump and mumble it, "Alara must be here." "Ibrahim's here." "Shit," Ava worriedly asked, "what should I tell him if that's why you're?" Ibrahim reassured her with a confident smirk, "Don't worry, baby gel. Your brother won't see me." With that, Ho rose from the bed and strode toward the balcony. Ava also trailed behind him, her eyes wide with curiosity and anxiety. She questioned, "How will you leave?" Ibrahim halted on the balcony. Then he turned to face Ava and replied, "Think about my propose, Ava. 3 cool you. Tomorrow." Without further explanation, he made his way onto the balcony. Avenue followed, concern etched on her face. She asked, "But now are you going to leave?" Ibrahim didn't answer her verbally. Instead, he resorted to a daring method. Farahim climbed over the balcony railing and began his daring descent. He clung to a downspout pipe, a crucial part of the building's rainwater drainage system. Avis was left speechless, her eyes following his every move as he started his descent down the pipes. Her heart pounded as she watched him. Ava couldn't help but worry about his safety. As Ibrahim reached the ground floor, he silently bid Ava goodbye, vanishing into the obscurity of the night. Left alone on the balcony, Ava could only murmur to herself, "What just happened? What kind of person is he?" Back inside, the doorbell continued to ring insistently, jolting Ava from her reverie. With a ramming heart, she turned to open the door. Ava quickly opened the door to her brother. Alara had been waiting outside. He looked visibly tired in his navy blue police uniform, an indication of the long and demanding day of work. As he stepped into the dining room, he inquired, "How are you, Ava? I've been ringing the doorbell for ages." Avenue offered a suck explanation, was in the bathroom. She moved aside to allow Alara to enter, and he removed his shoes. I observed the faint sheen of aurist on Ava's forehead and noted her nervous behavior. "Why do you seem so on edge? Did something happen?" Ava moved a strand of hair behind her bouquet to her unexpected encounter with Ibrahim Rahman. She shook her head, attempting to maintain a facade, and took a moment to collect her thoughts from the mysterious white. "Nervous? Me? No. It's just that I forgot to turn on the AC," she replied, a bead of sweat trickling down her temple. Little did Ava know that her decision to withhold the truth about her series of financial choices that would alter the course of her life to Ibrahim would be. Flora reached out to pat her lightly on the head and inquired, "Did you take your dinner?" She nodded and confessed, "Not yet, I made sandwiches." Alara reassured her, "I'll feign you after freshen up," and then made his way to his room. As Alara made his way towards his room, he suddenly detected the unmistakable scent of a luxurious perfume wafting through the air. Pausing in his tracks, Clara followed the alluring scarlet, which grew stronger as he approached Ava's room. Dara had a keen sense of smell when it came to perfumes, and this fragrance was undoubtedly from a high-end brand. And the was not that of a typical women's perfume, it was undoubtedly a men's fragrance. Ava Nad followed her brother, her bayar racing with anxiety. She questioned herself internally, wondering if Flara would discover Ibrahim had been in her room earlier. She couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong, brother?" Ellis stood at the doorway of Ava's room, his brows furrowed in confusion as the masculine scent lingered in the air. He scanned the area, searching for the source of the mysterious scent. But the room appeared to be in its usual state, with Axe's belongings neatly arranged. Ava, nervously biting her lower lip, watched her brother's reactions. Finally, Alara turned his attention back. "Do you have a visitor?" he asked. "This perfume, it's not yours." Her voice curved slightly as she replied, "No, Alara, no one was here. Maybe it's just the neighbors or summatizing." She prayed her brother would accept her words without delving deep. Dara studied her mentally. He netzed an eyebrow, but eventually decided to drop it for the time being. "Alright," he conceded, his tone indicating he wasn't entirely convinced. "It is strange, though. Be Coraloo, okay, lock your balcony doors. If they reopen I go reprint up for dimmer." Avenue issued a breath. She hadn't realized she was holding as Claire left the room, leaving her. The Momang sun bathed Kuala Lumpur in its golden embrace. The city awoke to the hum of Aisle, as people ate out their daily route and avenue. The Rahman mansion's architectural beauty was magnified by the mumming light. The exterior of the mansion was adorned with pristine white marble around the mason. There were big well-kept gardens. The gardens had neatly made the place look very beautiful. The trimmed green grass and colorful flows any path that walked through the garden, perfect for taking waxing walker. In the center of the garden, there was a lovely fountain. It had near water that bubbled and danced while making a soothing sound. Yad Apmik, the entrance of the mansion, you'd see tall columns that gave it a classy and timeless knock. The front doors made of dark, thick wood with 8 designer that showed a lot of effort skill went into making. The sunbeam streamed through the grand windows of Ibrahim's study room. The study room was adorned with rich wooden bookshelves that reached for the ceiling, housing countless leather-bound toques of various sizes and colors. In the center of the room stood a magnificent mahogany Ito polished Certica hosted an army of documents, a laptop, and a steaming cup of tea. Alia Roman, a lady in her 50s, entered her son's study room. She was dressed in a deep maroon traditional Malay kebaya, adorned with intricate golden embroidery. Her face bore the marks of her age. Wearing a simple white shirt and brown trousers, Ibrahim was seated on the chair near the large table. He was busy studying a file and stopping on a cup of tea. Ibrahim looked up from his files as his mother entered the room. He speaks her with a warm soul. "Mum, you're here. Did see you at dinner last right." Some to ask about Suesi mantoned while taking a seat in a cushioned chair opposite of Ibrahim. Ibrahim briefly closed the blee he was reading and placed it on the table. "We faced a loss yesterday. Se thad to stay. Tato working on tea." Alia nodded in understanding, her eye filled with maternal pride. "I know you can handle everything this time too." Ibrahim I can back in his chawl, exhaling softly. "I'm trying my best, Mum." Alia tried to change the topic. She asked, "When will you marry?" I'm eagerly waiting to see my daughter-in-law. Ibrahim's smile broadened as he heard her question. He took a sip of his tea and looked into the distance for a moment, lost in thought. You will meet her soon. Alia was taken aback by her son's response. She leaned in closer and inquired, "What a minute von? Is there soxman you like?" Ephraim nodded, confirming that there was indeed someone in his Itfe, Somkon, who had captured his heart. Alara had a ragging feeling about the previous night when he had caught a whiff of men's cologne in Avenue's room. Unable to shake off his suspicions, he decided to meet with Farah, Avel's best friend, to see if she knew anything about this matter. Dara parked his motorcycle gear outside Farah's apartment building. The midday sun was hesh. With a quick tug, he unmapped his helmet and decided to give Farah a call. Farah quickly answered her phone. "Hello, Mr. Flair Smitty, glad to hear you're standing outside your apartment. Can you come down?" Farah representative led, or you could be a little adventurous and come on up. I'm all Sion in my apartment. Farah hesitated for a moment. After all, Zed wasn't the meat conventional choice. He questioned, "Why are you alone?" Farah chuckled over the amore, her voice maintaining its playful edgo. "Well, my roommates decided to ditch. Went off to some friend's birthday party. Respecting the boundaries," Alara stated. "I'd rather we meet near the cafe, Farah. I'm not exactly comfortable visiting Ajira's apartment." Farah, sounding a little disappointed, countered, "There's really no problem, and it's so hot outside. I'm not in mood to go outside." Floss, ear. Alara let cut an audible sigh, eventually relenting to her request. "All right, 11, come up. What's your room number and floor?" Farah provided her room number and 4. Alara and Farah have known each other for a while, but it's always been a friendly, sibling-he relationship. Outsent years, Farah had developed a huge crush on Liera, despite Jara treating due to her close friendship with Avenue. Alara entered the apartment building and made his way to her flower. Farah was waiting at her door, friend with a warm smile. He arrived. Farah smiled. "Farah, welcome. Sorry for the mess, my vomits aren't very tidy." Clara ambled back, "No problem at all, Faison." She then led Farah sa her mum, gesturing for him in take a seat on the chalt. Farah asked, 30, "What do you want to know?" "Her bed." Alara leaned forward, his expression aureus, and replied, "Takan, have you noticed anything unusual with Avenue these days?" Farah pretended not to know anything and responded, "I can't say that I have." "What do you mean?" Farah continued, "Last night, I could smell Mena cologne in Os if someone had been there before. Got name?" Farah was equally surprised but kept her express on neutral. "Ava didn't share anything with her something like this?" she inquired. "Did you ask Ava about it?" Ella's explained, "I did, but she brushed it off, saying maybe it's just the neighbor's cologne, didn't praise her further." Farah suggested, "Maybe you're just imagining things. Ava hasn't mentioned anything like that to me." Ella's knuckled an end, "Wabe, you're right, might be overthinking." Farah steered the conversation in a different direction. "Thaven't seen you in casual clothes recently, and you look quite handsome in the actor." Claire, dressed in a light blue skirt and jeans, furrowed his Leto, usually wore these kind of outfits when in off duty. What's now here? Farah playfully remarked, well, it's been a while since I've seen you like this. You even seem to have gutted some muscle. Swear of where this conversation was heating, and he quickly stood up. He stated, I have to go now. Farah was taken aback and asked why now. It's a holiday, and you don't have to go to the police station. Lodi. She tossed home the bed and took sour steps down to him. Farah 100s a few subtle des backwant maintaining a respectful distance. Farah couldn't help but smile mischievously by his reaction. Farah knew how Farah cared to Twain, and he didn't want to encourage further. Alara leaned against wall in a deep breath, trying to find the right 177s. He started, but Farah interrupted. Furs, you know how much I care about you, why do you always try to run from Ma? Alara patted her on the hand in a friendly, brotherly manner. Farah, I've told you many times that I see you as a sister. She had hoped for something more. Ben Nd wanted Farah to see that. She took a step inseer to Flora. Though Farah is shorter Tara Lara, they nix. Enough, Alara. Farah sold earnestly. Don't treat me like a sister, and if you don't return my feelings, at least don't treat our relationship as merely brother and sister. Her brown eyes filled with longing, couldn't hide the frustration in her. Alara slowly withdrew his hand from Farah's head with a deep breath. He spoke to her. Farah, you're at an age where you might not fully grasp what's best for you. I don't want you to rush to things. You mean a lot to me, and you need to understand the difference between infatuation and true love. What you might be experiencing could be a simple crush, and if you act on it too quickly, you might regret it late. Her voice trembled with emotions. To understand what you're saying, but my feelings are real. I don't want to hide them anymore. I can just push my s aside as if they doesn't matter. Clara. He looked deeply to her eyes, trying to convey his sincerity. Tara, love is a complex thing, and I want you to experience with someone who truly gives back those feelings to you. Farrelly's expression sullened as she gazed at Glenn. What if that's someone to you, Clara? Farah didn't stop a minute there. The slightly pushed and told Trejeming late, stack another time. He patted on her head again and went towards the door, and he escaped from Farrell's eye. Ava was in her apartment at night, working on a project for her university. She was making a model of a modern building as part of her architecture assignment. Ava had spent the entire holiday on this project. She was serious about making it just right. Her hands were covered in glue, and her clothes had paint stains. With precision scissors, she cut out the final piece, a small replica of a modern building. She added it carefully, making sure it fit perfectly with the rest of the model. When she stepped back to look at her work, she felt proud. The model turned out just as she had imagined. Every little detail, from the streets to the trees and tiny people, was exactly as she had planned. She needed to show her brother. Ava entered the kitchen where Alara was busy preparing dinner. She could smell the delicious aroma of Alara's cooking. Elam noticed Avara presence and turned to her holding a spatula in one hand, a smile on his face. Hey there, little architect, how's the model coming along? Ava grinned and repeated, it's finally finished. I'm really excited about it. But I won't show it to you, whore. Let's go to my room. I've set up a small display for tea. Alara playfully ratted an eyebrow. Oh, going all fancy with a private exhibit, huh? A light. I'll be there in a minute. Just let me finish up here. ONF. Too excited to wait, and she playfully grabbed her brother's hand. Nope, you can't wait. It's a surprise if come. Ava was 100 excited to wait, and she playfully grabbed her brother's hand. Nope, you can't wait, you'll see now. Alara laughed as Ava pulled him away from the latchen, abandoning his cooking temporarily. Ava guided her brother into her room, and there on her desk stood the architectural model. Alara looked at the model with genuine interest. Wow, Ava, this is impressive, he exclaimed. You've really outdone yourself, Ava. Ava beamed with joy. I'm glad you like it. Put a lot of effort into this, and it's a big part of my Frau project. Alara looked at his watch. I hate to break up the discussion, but dinner won't cook itself. Let's head back to the kitchen. Ava sighed in resignation but then smiled. All right, let's go back. But promise me, when you become a famous architect, you'll visit one of my real buildings, not just models. Alara grinned. Deal, Ava. I'll be the first in line for the grand opening. Just then, her phone started buzzing. Ava glanced at the screen and noticed that it was Ibrahim calling. Pause crept into her eyes, but she said to keep her normal she wasn't ready to discuss about Ibrahim with her brother just yet. She quickly made an excuse. Oh, it's Farah calling me. I should take this. Alara nodded understandingly. Sure, go ahead. I'll fix up dinner while you talk to Farah. With that, Alara went to kitchen. Ava stood on her balcony, anxiety gnawing at her as she held the phone to her ear. Hello, he greeted. What are you doing, Ava? The sound of Ibralton's voice, deep and confident, immediately set her on edge. Ava took a deep breath to steady herself. She replied, I'm just working on my project for university. Ibrahim, on the other end of the line, took a drag from his cigarette as he peered out the window. The dim glow of a cigarette visible in the darkness. Good, he replied. Have you thought about my proposal? What's your answer, Avenue? Ava remained silent, her heart pounding in her chest. Ibrahim spoke firmly. Ava, I'm waiting for your answer. I have thought about it, Mr. Ibrahim, she began, her voice trembling, but I'm not ready for a relationship right now. And I would appreciate it if you didn't call me further. Ibrahim's patience was wearing them. He asked, Ava, tell me, why are you not ready? It's not the night time for me, Mr. Ibrahim. My studies and exams are crucial, and I need to focus on them. Hope you can understand my situation, Ava explained. Ibrahim clenched his jaw, his cigarette smoldering in the ashtray. His tone grew more intense as he asked, why are you pushing me away, Ava? Ava took a hold of the railing of Halkani and raged, I'm not pushing you away, but I'm not ready for this yet. Ibrahim was not pleased. He flicked his cigarette out the window, watching it fall to the ground below. Ava, you don't understand. When Ibrahim into something, he gets it. I don't take no as an hour. Remember this, Ava, I will make you mine. With those words, the call ended abruptly, leaving Ava trembling on her balcony. She took a deep breath to calm her raving heart. Meanwhile, Ibrahim stared out of his window, the tension in his shoulders evident. The rejection sting, but he wasn't one to back down easily. 7 days had passed since Ava's last conversation with Rahim, and during this time, she hadn't received any calls or messages from him. It was a relief for Ava. She returned to routine of studying and working on her architectural projects. As an architecture student, her life was filled with sketches, designs, and blueprints. In these 7 days, they had also managed to create 2 beautiful paintings. Her university hosted a monthly student art exhibition where students from various departments could showcase their artistic talents. She had been participating in this event for the past 2 years. Not only did it allow her to explore her passion for art, but it also provided her with a source of income from the art pieces she sold. The day of the student arts exhibition had finally arrived. The university's gallery had been filled with various artworks created by the talented students. The gallery was buzzing with visitors, including students, professors, and art enthusiasts, all gathered to appreciate the creative talents of the participants. Ava had her 2 paintings displayed. The first painting, titled Innocence Unvetted, was a portrait of a Jinn with sparkling eyes. The second, named Undersea Reverie, depicted the mystical underworld of the sea. Many art enthusiasts and her professors couldn't help but admire Avenue's work. Her friends, Nurul and Rafiz, were also there to support her, and Ava greeted them with a smile. Hatz playfully said, "Aves, you always manage to make us iconic bad. These paintings are spectacular." Aves laughed. "Don't be too hard on yourselves. You have your own talents, and besides, I'm just doing what I love." Nunyal nodded in agreement. "Avenue, you've really outdone yourself this time." Halleck, who had a tradition of buying one of Asa's paintings at every exhibition, pointed at Innocence Unveiled and said, "Ava, this one. I'll take it. How much?" Aves chuckled, "It's not too expensive. I want you to have it." While chatting with Hafiz and Nurul, Avenue felt an odd sensation, as if someone was watching her. She turned her head to scan the room but found everyone engrossed in their conversations, feeling it could be her imagination admiring the art. She dismissed the Nunyal, noticing Ava's momentary distraction, asked, "Ava, is something bothering you? You seemed a bit lost just now." Ava shook her head and smiled, appreciating the concern. "No, it's nothing." Ava hailed a cab to return home. The student arts exhibition came to an end. Both her paintings had found appreciative buyers, and she was thrilled that her art would now adorn the homes of others. After some moments, the cab pulled up in front of her apartment building. The driver politely informed her of the fare, and she quickly settled the payment before exiting the vehicle. "Thank you," she said to the inva with a warm smile. The driver nodded in acknowledgement. Upon entering her apartment building, the security guard informed her, "I'm sorry, Malam, but the lift isn't working at the moment." Ava furrowed her brow in confusion. "Why is the lift not working now? It was perfectly fine when I used it this evening." The security guard shrugged slightly and explained, "I'm not sure, ma'am. It seems to have stopped working suddenly. We've already called for a technician to come and fix it, but it might take time." Ava sighed, realizing that she had no other option but to risk the stairs for climbing. However, little did she know that this seemingly ordinary act of taking the stairs would lead to a life-altering event, one that would change her forever. Ava was busy looking outside the window when she heard the sound of the door being unlocked once more. She quickly scanned the room for something she could use as a weapon. Her eyes settled on a glass vase, and she grasped it firmly, holding it as if it were her lifeline. The door slowly swung open, revealing an elderly woman with a tray filled with various dishes. She appeared to be a maid, dressed in a neat uniform with a name tag on the right side, Aziza. Her smile was warm, her demeanor friendly. Aziza gently spoke, "Good morning, dear. I wasn't sure what you'd live for breakfast, so I prepared an assortment of dishes for you." Ava remained silent. She didn't respond to her. Aziza carefully placed the tray on the tea table and glanced at Ava. Aziza asked, "Is there anything else you'd like, dear?" Ava slowly approached the lady, taking her hands gently. She asked, "Auntie, can you help me escape from Herod?" Aziza looked taken aback by Ava's prayer and gently pulled her hands away. She replied, "I'm sorry, dear, but I can't do anything. My job is all I have, and my family depends on me. If I help you, I lose my job, and I can't afford that." Ava held Aziza's hands more and pleaded, "I promise to help you find a better job. My brother is a police officer, and he can assist you. Please help me escape from this place." Aziza hesitated for a moment, but then she gently pulled her hands from Ava's grip. She said sadly, "I'm truly sorry, but I can't assist you. My hands are tied." With those words, Aziza turned and left the room, locking the door from the outside. The room now felt even more like a prison to Avenue. Faisal rushed into Ibrahim's office with a worried look on his face. He closed the heavy wooden door behind him. Ibrahim was sitting in a black leather chair. He was on a serious phone call, looking busy. The office was luxurious, with his fancy wooden desk, a phone, a shiny nameplate that said, "Ibrahim Rahman," and some important papers. Once he was done with his call, Ibrahim put the phone down and turned his attention to Faisal, who was sitting across from him. Ibrahim raised an eyebrow and asked, "What's bothering you so much, Faisal?" Faisal, looking very frustrated, let out a big sigh. He leaned forward in his chair, looking intenser. Faisal retorted with a sigh, "Don't you know why I'm angry?" Ibrahim, with a bit of a smile, acted like he didn't know what was going on. The room was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. "Why did you kidnap that girl? How could you even think of that?" Faisal said in a voice that showed he was mad and shocked. Ibrahim took a deep breath and replied, "I have Ava Rowe, and I'm planning to marry her." "You're not doing this the night way. Alara, Ava's brother, has been searching for her everywhere since last night," Faisal pointed out. Ibrahim brushed off the concom, saying, "Let Alara search. He'll come to know about his sister soon enough." Faisal continued, "Do you think Ava will accept you with the way you're treating her? And what if she discovers all your illegal activities?" Ibrahim remained silent, knew that Ava would never accept him if she found out about his connection with the underworld. Ibrahim reached for the drawer and retrieved a pack of cigarettes. He hit one and began in smoke. Faisal took a moment to let the smoke swirl around Ibrahim before he continued, "Fahim, you need to think about this carefully. Ava is still so young, and these actions of yours will only hurt her." Ibrahim took a deep drag from his cigarette, exhaling a cloud of smoke. He finally spoke, "I know she's young, but I can't let her go now. I've set things in motion, and I won't allow her to sap away." Faisal leaned forward and said firmly, "Forcing her into something she's not ready for won't end well. You can't control everything, especially when it comes to matters of the heart." Ibrahim took another drag from his cigarette and looked out of the window, lost in thought. He knew that Faisal was right, and yet he couldn't shake the obsession he felt for Ava. He knew, deep down, that it was irrational, even dangerous, to pursue her in this way, but his intense DC for her blinded him to reason. Alara had watched the CCTV footage from their apartment last night, his worry growing by the minute. The disappearance of his sister Ava had unnerved him to the core. He had meticulously gone through the footage, looking for any signs or clues about what might have happened to her. He saw the security guard had mentioned something to Ava that prompted her to use the stairs instead of the lift, but all the footage from the stairwell had mysteriously disappeared. In the mumming, Alara waited for the security guard's shift to end, determined to get answers. When the guard finished his shift and was about to leave, Alara approached him. "Hey, your." Alara's tone was sharp as he called out to the guard who passed in his tracks. The security guard made to act like he didn't know what Alara was talking about. "Can I help you with something, Street?" Alara was not in the mood for games. He approached the guard aggressively. "You're the one who was on duty from last evening, right?" The guard hesitated and then muttered, "Yes sir, but I don't know what you're talking about." Alara's patience was wearing thin, and he made a swift decision. He grabbed the guard by the collar and pinned him against the wall, his voice steely. "You do know. You know exactly what I'm talking about." The guard was clearly frightened now, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as he stammered. "I don't know. Who told me to say those things to your sister?" Alara's grip tightened, and he raised his frat threateningly. "You're going to tell me everything you know, right now, or things will get much worse for you." Realizing that he was caught and that Alara was Sortis, the guard admitted, "I don't know the person's name. They never told me. I was just given money to do what I was told. I needed the money, and I didn't think it would lead to all this." Alura raised his fist and landed a blow on the security guard's face. The force of the blow stunned the guard. "How did they contact you?" Alara asked. Il's voice was so loud. The security guard was still reeling from the punch. He hesitated before answering. "They messaged me." Alara's eyes narrowed. "Text messages?" The guard nodded. "Yes, text messages." Alara knew he had to dig deeper. "Do you have those messages? Show me those." With trembling hands, he pulled out his phone, a cheap and outdated model, and opened the messages. The text messages were simple and to the point. They instructed the guard to tell Ava that the lift was broken and promised him a sum of money in exchange for his cooperation. The sender's number was unregistered and had no identifying information. Alara took a deep breath, realizing that this was the only lead he had. He noted down the phone number and then asked, "Did they mention anything else? Any specific orders?" The security guard shook his head. "No, just the message about the lift and the promise of money." Alara pocketed the number and handed the guard's phone back to him. But Alara wasn't done. Now he just had a phone number to trace, and he had to find out who was behind Ava's disappearance.